When we think about teaching in a classroom, one of the big components of that face-to-face environment is the interaction between the educator and their students. In facilitating a class, you can use cues from the students, hand raising, questions, facial expressions, to gauge the engagement of your learners. Since moving to remote teaching and learning, the physical environment of the classroom has been eliminated, throwing, in many cases, educators and their students into unfamiliar territory. In this installment of Teaching Tuesday, Dr. Milo Nikolic, Associate Professor of Classics and German, talks about the value of making connections. In his shift to remote instruction, he's using a combination of synchronous and asynchronous approaches to maintain the live elements of teaching and to also provide learners with flexibility. Through this process of moving to remote instruction, the interesting thing that Dr. Nikolic has learned is that it's actually brought him and his students closer together.
My name is Milo Nikolic. I'm an associate professor at Memorial University in the Department of Classics. I've been at MUN since 2009. And I teach a broad range of courses in the classics department, from topical courses like Roman art and architecture to first-year introductory courses, graduate seminars, and a lot of languages, in particular Latin. And this coming term, for the first time, I will also be teaching a first-year course in German. It's called German for Engineers and Business, and it's a brand new course. So next term, I will be focusing mostly on language teaching. The part of teaching that I value the most is the direct interaction with the students, being in the same room and looking at their expressions as I lecture to them or have conversations with them to see in their faces whether I need to emphasize some points or maybe back off from other points. That's the part I definitely value the most. The transition to remote instruction at the end of last term was really sudden, so nobody really knew what they were doing, as everybody was basically thrown in at the deep end. I was very fortunate because I happened to be taking a course as a student at the same time with a different instructor. So I could see the instruction from the point of view of a student in that particular course, and I was in a position where I could copy what was good, which was almost everything, and try to avoid what I, as a student, perceived to be not so good. So in the coming fall term, I will be teaching 2 first-year language courses. The first one is a regular online Latin course that would have run online anyway, so nothing changes there. The second course is a first-year German course, which normally would have run in a classroom. Because it is a first-year language course, it requires direct interaction with the students, so I have chosen to teach it synchronously. So I'm preparing pretty much the way I would for a regular classroom course. So I will have my PowerPoint presentations that I will upload, and I will lecture to the students at the regular time slot that is assigned for the course. The one big difference obviously will be on the side of testing. Rather than giving them paper tests in the classroom, I will have to generate a quiz library and a question library online. So the tests, quizzes, and the exam will have to be administered online through Brightspace. Everybody understands the situation. Nobody chooses to be in this particular kind of situation that we have to teach online. So I'm trying to adapt as best as I can to the needs of the students, which is why I'm also recording the sessions. So the students who are not able to log on to the course at the specified time, they will have a chance to watch the recorded lectures at a point in time that is convenient for them, because I don't know what their domestic situation is, right? Some students presumably have to share the domestic space with family. They may have to share their electronics with parents or siblings or children or partners. So I have to take all that into account and make it possible for those particular students to follow the lectures asynchronously. Well, I'm certainly not an expert on online instruction, but one observation that I have is that it's important to make whatever appears on the screen as legible as possible, because we don't know what kind of electronics the students have at their disposal, and in particular the size of the screen. So if a student has nothing but a tablet or a smartphone, it is important to adapt the legibility of any kind of on-screen material to the possibility that students are working with very small screens. And the second issue is regarding testing. Here I'm aware that at this point we can push academic rigor only up to a certain point. So when it comes to tests, my advice that I'm taking to heart myself as well is just to be cool and to be kind and to be gentle and to try and be as accommodating to the students' needs as possible. I have complete faith that the students will do the best that they can, and the same is true for us as instructors as well. So it's a matter of working together here to find the best possible solution that suits every student and leaves nobody behind. An interesting observation when we moved to remote instruction that I felt was positive was the reduction of a hierarchy in the classroom. So if you're in a classroom setting, in a physical classroom, you have students who are sitting in front, and you have students who are sitting in the back of the class. And the bigger the class is, the bigger is this spatial hierarchy. And whether you want it or not, you're automatically, as an instructor, you're focusing on those who are sitting closer to you, especially if you're short-sighted like me. And that is something that you don't have online because there is no physical space. So from my point of view as an instructor, it's the big equalizer, the big leveler. Everybody, every single student, from my point of view, is sitting in the first row, and I can devote the same amount of attention to every single student because there is no physical distance. The one point of key learning that I'm taking away from this transition is appears a bit paradoxical on first glance, but I feel that this remote teaching has brought me closer to the students. Because this is an unusual situation. We are in this together. The students are with us in this, and I am in this with the students. So we're not doing this by choice. We're doing it because we have to, and we're all pulling in the same direction. So there's this feeling of closeness, of being in a difficult situation jointly and together. And another thing, because it is so different from a classroom where we all have a certain degree of self-confidence because the classroom is our natural habitat, as it were, this is a completely different situation. We're like fish out of water, and all of us are. None of us are really comfortable with this. So the students see us with all our weaknesses. You know, we may have to struggle with bandwidth issues, and the microphone won't work, and the camera won't work. That's just what it is, right? And this is something that really brings us close together and shows the students that we're human, and it's going to be great, I think.